From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight as we preview the Broncos versus Raiders matchup, a pivotal moment in the season for the Broncos. As you win this game, maybe you can string together some more wins. If you lose this game, well, you'll be 3-7, and that's going to be significant for the remainder of the season. To help us break it all down, the one and only Steve Atwater. What a bat.
What up, R. Edwards, Benjamin Allbright?
Oop.
It's good to see you, man. Okay, so starting on the surface here, the season hasn't gone the way either of these teams really had pictured. When we talked about the AFC West in the offseason, it was like, hey, the Chiefs are probably going to be right where they are, and some mix of the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders. Any combination of those, you had people out there saying the Raiders might win the division, the Chargers, the Broncos. I mean, it was all over the map. Instead, this looks on paper now as one of the weakest divisions in the NFL. And I guess it goes to show you just how wild the NFL really is. But these two teams both headed in the wrong direction for what they expected this season. What matters to you in this one?
Well, I think guys go out and block everything that's happened early in the year. Just block it out and focus on being great and one play at a time. And you're not looking at, all right, how many games are we going to win along the line by the end of the season? Are we going to make it to the playoffs? Don't worry about all that. You know, the only way we're going to get there is that we win this one game and then we win another game. But if you look further down the line, I've said this many times, it makes it much more difficult. And we got to focus on the task at hand, one play at a time. And I hope that the coaches are stressing that point more so than – guys, we still got a chance to get into the playoffs, or, you know, we got to redeem ourselves. No, you got to play this one game as best as you can play it. And I just hope the focus is there like that.
Well, I agree. I think looking ahead is bad. I think you could look at these next two games. I think that's the furthest you could look. You can say we've got two winnable games in front of us, and if we do, we're at 5-6. So let's focus on winning this one and then stacking the second one after that. And let's get down to this Raiders game. This is a beatable football team. They don't play good defense. The offense is in revolt. Josh McDaniels might not even be the coach there next year, just based on the revolt they're having in the offense. Did you see Derek Carr's presser and how emotional he was? Yeah. Devontae Adams is out there in public, kind of throwing the coaching staff under the bus in very, very coded language. Wow. There's a revolt happening there, with the Raiders. That's a team that's in disarray. And, oh, by the way, Broncos fans are going to love you if you beat Josh McDaniels.
Oh, yeah. They're going to love it. The Raiders any day. I don't care who's coaching them. Well, but yeah, Josh Daniels. Double whammy, yes, with Josh being there.
Well, I know that for any conversation we're going to have about the Broncos winning this game, it's going to first start with scoring more than 10 points or even the 14 points that they're averaging on the season. But the Raiders, as was the case just a few weeks ago when these two teams played, the Raiders are a really struggling defense. They're 32nd in the red zone. They're 30th in when it comes to third down conversions. They are 30th in yards per play. They're just bottom tier in almost every statistical category. The only thing that they do, even mildly not at the bottom of the league, is against the run, and they're still 21st. So it's a defense that really is having a tough time right now. So if the Broncos are going to figure some things out,
this will be the week to do it.
This has got to be the week to do it. And listen, I told Ben on Broncos Country Tonight last night, I sort of hate doing this where you sort of draw a line in the sand of must-win games, right? I sort of hate doing that because mathematically that's not true. It's just not true because mathematically, even if you lose this game, you still have another 7 games after that. You're still in it. But let's just be honest. You're not going to win out, especially if you don't win this game. You're not going to gain any kind of momentum. And you talked about the last time we did a video. You said you got to find a way to build on something. You got to find a way to stack wins. You got to have this game.
Yeah, you got to have this game, and I'm sure they know that again, but they can't focus on that. You got to focus on, playing one play at a time and being great in that one play. Knowing that the Raiders are having troubles, I think that gives everyone a little bit more hope because they're struggling defensively. We've been struggling offensively. This can be just what we need to get some confidence going. I'm not saying we're going to get all the way up there. Yeah, our confidence level is going to be sky high after beating the Raiders because, they don't have a great defense. Eventually you're going to come up against some great defenses. I know we'll be playing the Ravens here soon too. And, with the defense that's very good. And so we got to win somehow. We got to find a way to win. It's gonna be a tough one though. Although the Raiders they have been playing well defensively. Guess what? They got some players on that defense though.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Max Crosby.
Yeah, Crosby's the truth. They just added Jerry Tillery from the Chargers. They picked up off waivers. You see if they can do anything with him. They still have Chandler Jones over there, even though he hasn't lived up to the contract that he signed with them in the in the offseason. They've got Nate Hobbs, the corner, who's pretty good. They've got players over there. They just don't have enough of them.
And we're still banged up. You know, we're still banged up on the offensive side of the ball. So hopefully the guys can dig deep, and play like starters and have a high level of productivity. And I know it's tough. It's tough playing with guys who haven't been starters and, them having to step up and take their game from one level, maybe two notches up from where they've been playing at. But guess what? That's what they're going to have to do. That's what they're going to have to do in order for us to be successful.
On the offensive side of the ball, we'll stay there for just another minute. The offensive line, I think it's like going to be the seventh different starting offensive line the Broncos going to be rolling out in this game. So understanding that, what can the offense do, knowing that you might not be able to have the protection you really hope to have when you started the season?
I mean, you say simplify. Obviously, that's the thing that will come to everybody's mind, but if you simplify it too much, then guess what? It's going to be simple for the defense too. And again, they have some guys up front that can put pressure on the passer. But if we can double team Max Crosby every play, I think that'll help us out a little bit and get some body on body. But I don't think we're going to have any easy games. From the way that it's been this year, I don't think we're going to have any easy games.
Oh no, this is definitely not an easy game.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, like the Raiders offensively, you saw Josh Jacobs just go off against them.
And that's the thing. Josh Jacobs, his confidence level is sky high, especially when he's playing against us.
Yeah.
Knowing the
Career
last
days.
several times he's
But they're
played.
only averaging 106 rushing yards per game. They're 24th in the NFL in running the ball right now. And again, it's not like
How many did they get against us last time?
a lot. Like, what did he have? Like 150 yards or something like that?
Yeah, it was absurd.
Yeah.
The team had like a 150. He had a $130, I think.
Yeah, they
it was.
had over 200 yards rushing against the Broncos. Like, they went off.
I'm anticipating the Broncos have some type of game plan similar. I'm not sure if we can do it similar to the Titans because we were able to shut down their receivers. I think the Raiders' receiving core may be a little bit better than the Titans. So, I don't know if we'll be able to have that same game plan. Having three linebackers in there for Josh Jacobs, I'm not sure if we're going to do that. But we're going to have to somehow have that effort and have the same productivity in terms of holding him to under 100 yards.
Yeah, he had 144 rushing yards, averaged 5.1. The team had 212 rushing yards against the Broncos.
Hey, they're going to try to do it again.
Well, of course they are. And it worked the last time. Why wouldn't they try to do it again? So understanding that, and I think it's appropriate, sometimes when it's a rivalry, when it's two teams, especially in division, it's a 2-7 versus a 3-6. The record in this case does not matter, and the Raiders are going to come in here and playing like they're marching towards the playoffs. Even though Ben kind of laid it out there, they look like a broken team in almost every other possible way. So the Broncos taking advantage of a matchup there on the offense, maybe getting some continuity, building some kind of confidence. That's what you're going to be looking for on the defensive side of the ball. Listen. They do have a lot of ways to attack you. They are going to be without Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, but Hunter Renfrow wasn't in the last game, and Darren Waller wasn't really as much of a factor. So that isn't significant here. I think it's about Devontae Adams, about Matt Collins, and then, of course, it's about Josh Jacobs. So as you're stacking this, we talked about the Tennessee Titans game, like, hey, it's got to be Derrick Henry. How are you stacking the way that you defend this team?
Well, I mean, I felt the same way with when we were going against the Titans. I felt like our defensive linebackers, especially our safeties, would have to get involved. But because our linebackers and D-line play so well, our safeties really didn't have to get involved in the run as much as I thought they would. But I think it's going to be a different story against the Raiders. I don't think you can go in there with three linebackers against Josh Jacobs. I guess if he starts running it on us, maybe you may have to go back to that. But I think we could get it done with the safeties. And I think Justin, he should be back this week, and Kareem coming up. I think that would be sufficient.
I think they could play one-on-one with these receivers without Renfrow and Waller. So I think you're looking at your base philosophy is going to be two deep man under, and obviously you're going to throw some exotic stuff in there to throw them off. But that's your base philosophy for this one. You can man up everybody. Extra attention to the run game with the linebackers. I think you want to run 4-2-5 if you can. You want to run out of nickel with two backers. And I think you rotate Jonas and Alex Singleton along with Josie. Josie played real well against Derrick Henry. He's a great run funnel, sure tackle guy. And if you can have another guy playing the seeker on that to kind of push him into that, I think you can do well with that. So I think
the thing with Josie is, like, when the D lineman can keep the offensive lineman off of him,
Right.
yeah, he can go. But when the offensive linemen get up on him, that's when it gets tough. All linebackers are like that.
Right.
You know, if the linemen get on you, it's a whole different story.
But I'm not sure any of their linemen can get to the second level and be able to do. They don't have a very good offensive line in Raiders country.
But the one thing that I will give the Raiders credit for, and again, we talked about the defense being bottom tier in almost every category. The offense is mostly putting up middling numbers. They don't turn the ball over a lot. So the Raiders are, despite their record, you'd think that this is a team that just has, now they don't get a lot of takeaways either, but they don't give away the ball. They have 7 giveaways on the entire season, which is really remarkable. If you think about what this team is at 2-7, you'd think that it would be flipped the other way. Hey, they just can't get out of their own way. They keep making mistakes. It's not the case. This team does not give the ball away. So the Broncos, this isn't one of those like, hey, like when we played Matt Ryan in the Colts, saying Matt Ryan can't stop fumbling the ball. That's not the same case with this team.
Yeah. Now, how many points are they averaging a game?
They are averaging right now
Raiders,
22.6. They're 14th.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've been more productive than we have on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, certainly.
Yeah.
But that's like 8 points per game different.
But they also give up.
Yeah, they also give up.
That's their deal. They're going to give up.
Can't stop anybody.
They're 28th in the league, giving up over 25 points per game.
Right.
Yeah.
So versus the Broncos, 16 points per game. So again, that's
what happens when the Broncos offense, a very stoppable force, meets the Raiders defense, a very movable object, and see what happens.
yeah. But again, this is very reminiscent. And I remember when the Broncos played the Raiders last time, we said the exact same things. Hey, this defense is not playing very well. Even at that time, they weren't playing well. They were terrible against the run. And I remember we were saying the Broncos are going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to pass the ball. They should be able to do whatever they want. And by the way, Russell Wilson had a pretty good game. He had 3 touchdowns in the game, including 1 rushing. So he had a pretty good game. They didn't have the fumble with Melvin Gordon. I think the Broncos are in that one. They were marching into scoring range at that point. So if you're the Broncos, let's just go with that. What's your confidence level about where your team is at going into this matchup?
Well, if we can move the ball offensively, is good, because defensively we know that our defense will be able to hold them, hold them down. They'll hold them under 20 points. But we got to make sure we can score. And that's been our Achilles heel the entire season. We haven't been able to put points on the board. And, yeah, it's been close every game. We've had opportunities to do it, but, penalties, injuries, you name it. You can just, ball up a bunch of things and pick it up and choose it. Oh, injuries today. There have been so many different.
I got to make that a GIF or something like that. Just whatever that, ball it up, then hold it up and injuries.
Oh, you said you cut a bunch of pieces of paper, put different things on it, and just grab one.
Yeah,
we've had every one of them.
I totally respect that. Okay. That's going to be stuck in my head the rest of the day. All right. Last thing here for you guys. Okay. The Broncos, I'm going to play 2 scenarios here. First, the Broncos come out. They not only put up their season high in points, because right now 23 is their season high. Let's say they go north of that, okay? What does that mean? And then the other side of that coin, the Broncos come out, they have another performance kind of like they have, where they're under 20 points per game. They end up losing or winning close, either way, losing. What does that do for not only this specific game, but going forward?
Well, obviously, if they come out and, they put points on the board, and
let's say they put up 30 points. Let's say they somehow get 30 points in this game. What does that mean?
It gives brings a lot of confidence. Now, does it give enough confidence, enough momentum for them to feel like, hey, we can do this? I don't know if it does that, but it's the start. And again, even if you're not building for this season, which I won't say it's over until it's over, you still be building for the future, whether it's future this year or future next year, and you got to start stacking them at some times. Now, if we come out and do just the opposite, that's what it's still back to the drawing board, because you're still going to have how many more games after that?
7 more games after that.
You're still going to have 7 games. You can't fold up your tent and go home, go back home to your hometown. So you still got to play, and nobody wants to go out there and get demoralized. So you're still trying to get better at all times. So you're never going to fold your tent. So play as well as you can. Know what your responsibilities are, man. Hopefully something good will happen.
Well, if you don't get to 20 points, you're embarrassed because the Raiders haven't. The least they've given up all year was 20 points to the Houston Texans, and they did it to the Colts. Again, that's the tightest.
What's our offense rank, though?
That's the tightest their defense has been. What's that?
What's our offense rank right now?
The Broncos?
Yeah,
14.5 points a game, something like that. It's awful. If you're going to get right, that is the get right. That you just have to. as far as the rest of it goes, I mean, you come out of this with a W. You got some momentum, something to build on. You got a Carolina game in front of you that is winnable. You win that game, all of a sudden you're 5-6, and you're heading the right direction. You lose this game and you're done. Your season is over, and you're going to have to find ways to motivate yourself to make it through a lengthy season, especially against a bad Carolina. You put your body on the line against a bad Carolina football team in a meaningless football game. I'm probably not. So the coach is going to have to find ways to remotivate, and those same coaches, while they're doing that, are probably trying to find a way to do that because they're brushing up their resumes for their next job.
Let me ask a question. How big of an impact do you guys think injuries are? I think it's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal, but every team is dealing with a certain amount of injuries.
Come on,
it's significant. I think it's part of the storyline of the season, but to some extent, it doesn't matter. When you go out there on the field, you're playing your opponent. I mean, you've told me this for years. Like, you go out there and you play your opponent. They're not going like, hey, man,
we're going to take it easy on you.
We're going to take it easy on you because we know you're on your third string center and your third string left tackle and your third string, nobody's going to say any of that.
They're saying I'm about to pad my stats.
That's exactly what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's the NFL, right? You're all paid professionals out there. So it's a storyline, but in the end, this is what I'll say about that. It's a storyline, but you're also still dead last in the NFL in scoring. And if you were, say, just a little below average and we see the injuries starting to pile up and saying we're seeing to slip a little bit, okay, well, then that's something. But if you would, again, averaged 18 points per game, 18, which is not significant, right? We're talking about like 20th in scoring, 25th in scoring. You would be a winning record team right now. That's just what it is.
It's a dominant football team. And that's what the Titans have done. The Titans' defense isn't quite as good as the Broncos.
But they're averaging around 18 points per game.
Their offense isn't very good at all, but they're averaging 18 points a game. They're hitting that mark, and that's why they're 6-3. The Broncos are 3-6. That's the difference.
Yeah. So if it was just like, hey, because even when they had all their starters, they weren't playing at a super high level. If they were just a little bit below average and the injuries are starting to pile up, you'd say, okay, well, I can get it. But the fact that you're this far down, it's hard to have a lot of excuse for that.
Yeah, and the question is, how do we improve? How do we improve going forward?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. All right, thank you, At.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. For Benjamin Allbright, Steve Atwater, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
Denver's gonna win. You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.